This is a complete setup and walkthrough for the Strymon Mobius. They originally came out in 2012. They're usually blue. This is obviously a midnight edition from 2022. It's all metal. It's beautifully made, incredibly sturdy, fantastic finish. Nothing to fault about it there. The knobs don't wobble. They're all metal as well. Nothing cheap here. Now I'll be using a synth for the sound, but with no expression pedal, so other than the expression operations, we'll go through all the parameters of all the modes. In doing that, we'll program and save a sound for all 12 effect types. Here on the back panels, stereo in and out. Now there's also this little switch here, stereo in and out and pre and post. The pre-post option is only for inserting other effects into a Mobius mono loop, full MIDI in and out, beautiful thing. Now the Mobius isn't just for nice modulations. It can get weird and mean, but it's not cheap. So get to know it for maximum fun from your precious doubloons. Now the very first thing you want to do is the boring stuff, which is check the firmware version. Old firmware means problems and confusion. So let's check it so we can forever after forget about it. So what you do is to power up the unit while holding down the tap button. There is the tap button, here is the power. Hold that down, put the power in. Mobius. It's in test mode. So now we turn the type knob until we see revision and press. Now we see the firmware version 1.39. That's late 2022. It's the latest version. Now the major one before that was 1.34, and that added a lot of things. So you can survive without 1.39, but you need to be on at least 1.34. Now unfortunately the latest Mobius PDF manual is not quite in sync with the firmware, but that won't disturb us here. So to get back to normal operations, adjust power cycle. Back to normal operation. So first a basic overview, 3 switches on the front. Hold the 2 right switches together, bank goes up, hold the 2 left switches together and press, bank goes down. A and B, as the label is here, are the presets, and you can see the name there changing, and the light goes around to tell you with those presets what effect type it's using. Bank goes up, bank goes down, A and B. So with 100 banks and 2 per bank, that's 200 patches. But if you want to amuse yourself just noodling through the patches, be aware that the first 50 banks are the same as the second 50. So bank 0 to 49 are the same as 50 to 99. So when we start overriding patches, don't be alarmed, because all the factory sounds will still be there. Tap is tap tempo. 2 taps is enough. The light indicates the speed. You can also change the speed via the speed knob, and you see the BPM rate changing there. It can also be displayed in hertz, which we'll have a look at in a minute. 2 main controls are type and value. Type selects the type of effect. So you see the little light go round. And the value knob, which is used for getting into the menus and programming. They don't have little indicators on them because they're infinitely rotatable. You can also use the value knob to scoot through presets. And if you ever get lost in a weird menu, things are happening, you don't know what's going on, just press the type knob, you get back to the preset, and it toggles between the speed and the name of the preset. So that's what you press to get home or to get out of trouble. Now pretty straightforward. Here are the speed, depth and level knobs. So speed as we said, controls the speed of the modulation, the display changes, the light changes, and depth is just the depth of the modulation. Now in some presets it has slightly different function, but it's always generally the depth of the effect. Now level is a -3 or +3 boost in output, and that's just to balance the volume when you're programming. But very useful. And parameter 1 and parameter 2 can have any value from the individual effects list of parameters, and they're very easy to assign, which we'll go through. Now on this preset, for example, if we twiddle the parameter 1 knob, we'll see the name. So it's on regen, and there's the regen amount. If we twiddle parameter 2, we see it's on the manual parameter, and then you can adjust that. Let's go to a different preset, and we'll adjust this one. It's the mix. And this one, tone. So it's very nice that it gives you a quick look at the name and then you adjust the level, because mystery knobs on some pedals can be excruciatingly awful, because if there's no display, if it doesn't tell you what it is, how do you know what you're adjusting? Well, of course, you haven't got a clue. So here's another one, it's mode. And this one, it's shift. So very handy, very nice. Now press type to get out of that. And you remember toggles between the speed of the effect and the name. So as I say, we'll get into assigning a parameter to a knob a bit later, after we've looked through what parameters are available. So we know about going up and down. There's going down, here's going up. Press the preset that you want. Back down we go. A and B. Green is when you're on the preset. Now if you twiddle a knob, you'll notice the color here will change. Now that means you've changed a parameter in the preset. If you go out of it and press it again, it'll still be there. But if you go to another preset, it's reloaded. So change your value. So now it says you've changed something in that preset. You can switch it on and off. You've still got the change. But if you go to a different preset and then come back, it reloads the original value. Now it's a complex machine, there's a lot of options. There are global options in the globals menu. Then for each type of effect, there are options in common to all the effects, like MIDI clock, for example. And then finally, there's specific options for each effect type. So let's set up the globals first, because it's quick and painless. To get into the global menu, press and hold the value knob. You'll see the word global come up, a little twiddle, and we're on to the first parameter, which is BPM or Hertz. Press it in, Hertz, BPM. So you just choose which one you want. It could be on Hertz. Get out of that. Now if we twiddle the speed, we'll see it in Hertz. But I'm a BPM sort of person, so press and hold the value knob to get back into the global menu. Turn it for the first one, BPM or Hertz. Press it to get into the options. Instead of Hertz, BPM. Press it to get out. Press that to get back again. Now if we rotate speed, we're in BPM. And just by the way, the speed knob is the sort of gross speed, the coarse speed, And then the value knob, you'll see it changes a lot slower. So you can get very precise adjustments. So that's the gross, there's the precise speed. Now again, press type, get back to where you know what you're doing. Let's get back into the globals menu, press and hold value. Globals comes up. Well, we saw BPM and hertz. The next one is tap. It's an important setting. Unfortunately, I think it has an appallingly confusing name. It's a global parameter called tap. If we go into the options by pressing it, you'll see the options are preset or global. So a global option called global that's under tap, not the best thing. But anyway, the distinction here is preset means whatever you program into a preset will be recalled exactly as it is. But if you select global, it means it will conform to the incoming clock speed. So if you've got a MIDI clock coming in and you've enabled the MIDI clock in the actual preset, then the modulation will be at the MIDI clock speed. Well, I'd rather program something and know exactly what it is that I'm going to get, so we'll leave that on preset. But I'll explain more a bit later. Next one along, bypass. Press it to see the option. It's true bypass or buffered bypass. True means your signal goes straight through when the effect is off. Buffered goes through an analog buffer, which is designed more for very long cable runs. So I'll leave that on true. MIDI channel to select the channel which your machine is on and will respond to. MIDI CT, which is MIDI continuous controller, and this is to enable MIDI CC messages. So might as well have that on, doesn't hurt. Next one, well, MIDI PA, MIDI patch change, on or off. Again, may as well have it on, it's not hurting anything. Next one is MIDI through. Now what happens to incoming MIDI data? So I've got it off, but you can choose to merge, so you're adding the Mobius MIDI data to the incoming data. Through, which is anything coming in just goes straight through to the MIDI output, or off, which means the MIDI output is just Mobius data, even if you've also got other stuff coming in. So put it to off for now, so the output will just be whatever Mobius is doing. Next one, bank SC, which is bank scroll. Now this sets the top number bank to scroll to. I think it's an odd sort of an option, but I suppose if you had, say, 10 banks of presets that you used, you're doing a set and you just wanted to cycle through those, you could set 10 as the limit so that when you were scrolling around you didn't get lost in high numbers and you're furiously twiddling. So I suppose there's some useful functionality to that, but just as well to leave it at the default for now. This is expression mode, so it's what will the expression input be used for. And choices are pedal for an expression pedal, tap for a tap foot switch, bank for the Strymon preset switcher to select banks, and preset again is for the Strymon switch for patches. I'll leave it for pedal, which is the default. Next is names, reasonably important one. This is how the patch names will be displayed. Now I've already changed mine to on, which means it'll just show the first 6 characters of a preset name. Scroll means you could call a preset, fabulous lusciousness, and those letters will be scrolled through like, I don't know, something in Las Vegas, cheap motel, eat at Joe's, which I think gets pretty tedious. And what are you doing, programming fantastically long names into this step by step? What a pain. So I have it on, which means it'll just show the first 6 characters. So your preset names, you've got to fit them in within 6 characters. And you could have off, which means you just get a bank number rather than a name. So that's for people who love operating in a very zen world. I'll have it on, which means you just get the first 6 characters. And that's it for the global menu. Not very painful at all. And remember, press type to get back into the real world. Toggle it for the preset name. All the other options are contained in each specific effect type. Each type has a varying number of specific parameters for that effect, but there are also some parameters which are common to every type. So let's look at the common ones first. That is, the parameters that every effect type has. Now, to get into that, we'll press the value knob. Now remember, it's a long press to get into the global menu. Type to get out. It's just a quick single press to get into the parameters for whatever effect type you're currently on. So we'll scoot through the chorus options and tap div. That is the first parameter which is in common to every effect type. And tap div is tap divisions. This sets the note value. The default value is quarter notes. But you'll notice if we change it, this starts flashing in amber. So we've got the pretty typical sort of options there. So it's a useful indicator when you're on a preset. When the tap light, the speed light, is flashing red, it means quarter notes. Anything else that you program in, you'll always see this flashing as amber for all those other options. So just useful indication there. Press again to get out of the tap div option. Go on to the next item, pre and post. Now this works in combination with the switch on the back of the unit for either stereo operation or the pre-post effects loop for running through an amp. Next one is name. This is where you edit the preset name. So let's say we were ready to edit this name. We'd press that, you see the first character flashing. The value knob chooses the character and the type knob moves you along to the next character. But we'll leave that where it was. Get out of that. Next one, EP, which is expression pedal. The options on and off. EP set is the next one, and there is the heel and toe positions. Now, as I said earlier, I haven't got an expression pedal connected, but basically the way it works is you're on toe, you twiddle the knobs where you want them, then you go to heel, you twiddle the knobs where you want them, and then you'll get out of that and set. Final parameter is MIDI clock. It can either be on or off. The default usually seems to be off. I always switch it on. Now, if the preset MIDI clock is off, then the tempo will be whatever it was when you saved the patch. So even if in the global menu you've selected global, which means adjust the preset to the incoming clock, if you've then in the individual preset switched the clock off, then that preset will default to whatever the speed was when you programmed the preset. I mean, it's got to be some speed, so it remembers that. But for maximum flexibility, I think the way to go is how we've set it up here. In the global menu, you put it to preset. But in each individual preset, you make sure the MIDI clock is on. Now, that way, if at some point or other you suddenly want all your presets to synchronize, then all you have to do is go to the global menu and press tap global. And now, because you've enabled the MIDI clock on every preset now will look at the incoming clock. And then if you want to turn that off, again, all you have to do, go to the global menu, go to tap, go back to preset. And now your presets revert to your saved value. So that, I think, is by far the most flexible way to do things. Not that really synchronization and speed is such a big deal, because the speed controls are so good, especially displaying it in BPM. So Generally speaking, synchronization and speed not a problem, but it's useful to know how those options work so you can automatically get things to adjust. And these factors might be very important indeed, especially if you're playing live and you're flipping between presets. So now we're finally ready to program some effects. There are 12 effects. Strymon calls them mod machines. Now so far we've gone through the front panel, the global settings, settings common to every effect, but for every effect there are also specific parameters. Some, like the vintage tremolo, just has 2 parameters. Other more complex effects like the filter has 6, and the pattern tremolo manages 10. And we'll start with the chorus. We'll go round the dial for all 12 effects, saving a preset for each one. So we'll start with the chorus. So press the value knob to get into the parameters. You see params come up, and then you just turn the knob to see those parameters specific to that effect type. And remember, once we get onto tap divisions, that means we're onto the common parameters, the ones that are in every effect. So when you get there, you know you've got to the end. So 3 specific parameters for the chorus: mode, mix, and tone. And it's useful, I think, to have a look at each effect when you get into it, when you're programming, to see how many different parameters there are, because remember, you've got 2 parameter knobs here to assign a value to. If you've only got 2 parameters, well then you know straight away that you can put them on these 2 knobs. So we've got 3, which means 2 out of the 3 will be able to go here. So we're in mode, click on mode, we'll just twiddle to the left to get to the start to see which ones we've got here under mode. So bucket is a single LFO effect. Let's get a slightly better view. There we are. Multi, multiple LFOs. Turn up the depth a bit. Vibrato. Detune. And digital. So, all just little flavors and variations. And again, we could sit here for a long time. Now, they each have their flavors, of course, but we'll just choose one, detune. Turn up the depth a little bit. Back out of that by pressing the value knob again. So that's mode, mix. So 50% probably is a fair thing. Back out of that, and then tone. It's just some basic EQ. See the bottom end there on the little EQ display. Right, we'll set it about halfway. We want to assign 2 parameters, one to each one of the parameter knobs here. Mode is an obvious one to assign, so we'll have that on parameter 1. We'll just press and hold and then twiddle the appropriate knob. So we're in mode, press and hold, twiddle. And there we are. There's the options under mode. Likewise, I'll go here. So mix or tone. Let's say mix is the one we want. Press and hold, twiddle the knob. Now we've got a mix amount here. So mode here, mix here. Just put it where we want to actually program this sound. Let's say detune. Well, that sounds all right. We'll flip right to the end. MIDI clock, it's off. We'll switch the MIDI clock on. Tap divisions, we'll leave the same. Now we're on to name. So we want to name the preset. To do that, press. Now we're into the name function. This one selects which character you're going to edit. Now you notice here in name function we can actually scroll right over, but we won't see any of those in our presets because we've just selected to be able to see the first 6 characters. But here you can, of course, you can go a bit further. But we're going to call this 0 1. I won't do this for every single one, of course, because everybody will be driven nuts. So 01 chorus is our name. All that's left is to save it. To save, press and hold the type knob. You see save come up. Now, if we're already on the bank that we want, we can just press either A or B where we want to save it. Save it into A, saving, complete. And we'll save it into the B slot as well. So just press and hold again. Save comes up. Where do we want it? Into B, saving, complete, chorus, chorus. Notice when it first comes up after you save, it just gives the numerical value, and then once you press it, you actually get the name back again. So there's that. Let's go up a bank, bank number 2. Next effect, which is the flanger. Into parameters. How many parameters have we got? Mode, regen, manual, tap div, so that's a common one. So we've got 3 parameters for the flanger. So 2 out of those 3 can be on those knobs. So under mode, I'll just pop it to the left so we can go through them all. These are the flavors of flanging: silver, grey, black, minus and plus, 0, plus and minus. Let's see what we've got for them. So this isn't really a sound exploration so much as a operational tutorial, so we won't spend too much time on that. We'll just have it silver for now. Regen. Which is just the feedback level of the flanger. And manual, which is delay tone. We will assign these. So mode is the obvious one. Assign that there. Put it back onto silver. And let's go regen for parameter 2. So there's the regen value and the mode value. But the mid clock is on. Into the name. A flanger. I'll press and hold. Save comes up. Which bank will this be? This will be in bank 2. So bank 2, which slot? A. Press and hold again. Save. Slot B. So there it is. A. O2 is flanger. Same sound in both ones. If we go down to bank 1, there's our chorus. Bank 2, flanger. And the dry sound. Okay. Now I'll go into the next one, which is Rotary. Click on the parameters. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 parameters. And this is one where the depth knob changes slightly, which is something to do with the stereo placement of the mics in relation to the horn, whatever that means. So let's have a look at these. Horn level, pre-drive. Now this apparently is a bit of tube preamp, so get a little bit of sort of overdrive effect here, I believe. Slow speed, which is the rotary speaker's slow speed. So that sounds quite nice. Acceleration. Now that is the transition speed from the slow to fast. Leave it at midway for now. Tap switch. Now this is quite important. This determines whether using the tap foot switch will be tap tempo as normal or toggle between the fast and slow speeds of this effect. So we'll have it onto speed. So the tap knob becomes a speed selector and tap div. So that means we're back into common parameters. Now, as for parameters, let's try horn level and slow speed, acceleration, about slow speed. Okay, so now hours of fun. Let's whiz across to the MIDI clock, turn that on, go to the name parameter. Now this will be 03 Rotary. So I won't give you excruciating tedium of looking at every single time I program a name, but it will be 03 Rotary. Okay, so the name is done, 03 Rotary. Press and hold to save. It'll be in bank 3, number A, Do that again, press and hold to save again, because we'll do it into the B slot as well. Press the B slot, there it is, 03 Rotary. And if we go, I'm always doing that, if we go down to bank 2, there's our flanger, down again to bank 1, there's the chorus. Go to the next effect, which is vibe. Now this is meant to be a 1960s style vibe circuit. Parameters, wave shape, low end, headroom and mode. So it's got 4 parameters. Wave shape. This is the shape of the LFO. So it seems alright. Low end. Now let's keep it in the middle for now. Headroom. Again, it's a little bit of drive, and that might be a nice one for one of these knobs. So I'll put that there. Mode. Got chorus, vibrato, low end, headroom, mode. Let's have mode as this knob. So we switch between vibrato and chorus. Quite phasey, really. I'm turning it into a phaser. Well, let's say we like that. Let's go across, make sure the MIDI clock is on, go into name. Again, I won't bore you with the long tedium of it all, but this is the 4th one, so it'll be 04 vibe. Press and hold, select the bank, which is 4, slot A, press and hold again to save, comes up as save, have it in slot B, 04 vibe. Again, just to check, 3 is our rotary. 4 is the vibe. Let's move along to the phaser. I did an in-depth comparison between the Mobius phaser and the Strymon Zelzar, the result of which was that in most situations I couldn't tell the difference, so I sold the Zelzar. Much as I love the Zelzar, beautiful sound, and I thought the Zelzar sounded absolutely fantastic, but I couldn't tell the difference really between that and the Mobius. So that is how good the Mobius phaser is. This has 5 parameters: mode, regen, wave shape, headroom, spread. And mode is for the stages plus a barber pole. I'm going to go classic and have 4-stage, regen, wave shape, well, sign's the classic, headroom, a little bit of grit, spread is for the stereo field. I'm going to go full stereo field. It's a stereo pedal. There's plenty of mono phases around, so why not go for the full stereo effect. Now, as for which gets the parameters, I think mode, being all the stages, that should get a knob. So there we are for there. And maybe regen for number 2. Take the speed down. Clock is on, go to the name, and what are we up to again? 5 phaser. 5 P H A. That's not too bad really, is it? Press and hold to save. Choose the bank. Bank 5. Slot A. Press and hold again. Slot B. So there we are, phaser. Go down, there's the vibe. Go up for the phaser. And of course, we've got stages on our parameter knob with regen. So pretty quickly we can change it all around, which is better control than what you get on a lot of dedicated phases. There we are, back to the program sound. Effect number 6 is the filter. It's got 6 parameters, lots of options here. It's probably one where you'd want to sync it up to some sort of clock or something like that. I'll just put this onto strum effect. So mode, low pass, wah, which is band pass, and then high pass, so I'll have it on low pass. Wave shape, so the wave shape for the LFO, saw, ramp, random, was that the start? No, sine, triangle, square, saw, ramp, random, envelope plus, which is a sweep up, envelope minus, which is a sweep down, but we'll just go for something pretty basic. Okay, filter midpoint. Resonance. Oops. 50-50. Spread. Again, we'll go for the full stereo option. So that's the left-right phase offset. Tap division. Now this is a common parameter, but for something a bit slower. Across to the MIDI clock, make sure that's on. So what will we have as our parameter knobs here? Maybe mode, and the other one, well, wave shape might be interesting. Let's try that. Have that on square. Let's put this onto wah. If we tried a bit harder with the raw sound, something a bit more appropriate. But so yes, we could be here for quite some time playing with this, and it's a lot of fun, and we could go into all sorts of strange parameters, but I'll just go back to the basic sound that we were working with before. Yeah, it's very distracted indeed, but we'll just forget about that for now and keep going. So we're on to number 6, not you. Go back to there, up 1. And this is filter. Save. Bank 6, preset A. We'll also save it again into B. So we go down to 5. Which was the phaser. We go into 6, which is the filter. So I didn't really do that one justice, I don't think, but the raw sound is one of the important factors here, and chances are if you're going to be using the stereo filter, you might have had something a bit more rhythmic going on, maybe some sort of arpeggiation, and a sound that, you know, this filter could chew on a bit more, whereas at the moment our raw sound is not the most conducive towards filter modifications, perhaps. Anyway, let's try the next effect up, which is the Formant. This is the sort of vocal effect. Let's see what parameters we've got here. Val 1, Val 2, wave shape, and spread. So Val 1, A, E, I, O, U, random, Val 2 is the same. Let's put that on random as well. wave shape here is the shape of the LFO. Let's get a square there. And then spread. Again, we'll go stereo spread. For we must move along and go into MIDI clock on name for the Formant. Save. Select the bank 7. Save again. Into B. So 6A is the filter. Let's go back to our default sound. Okay. 8 is the vintage Tremolo. Now it just has 2 parameters, mode and pan. So mode is the type of tremolo. Our tube is some amp bias setting, which is sort of magical electro stuff, which I don't pretend to understand, but again, it's just a flavour. Beautiful flavour it is. Then harmonic, which is a little bit phaser-like perhaps. And photo, which is a photoresistor. It's a little bit choppier. Let's go on to the electro magical one, which is the amp bias. Panning will go for full stereo again. That sort of like auto pan effect. Now we'll assign the 2 parameters, each one to a knob, because we've only got 2 parameters. So tube and full. Okay, that's very nice. The clock is on. The name. So we're up to effect number 8. It's tremolo. Press and hold to save. Check the bank number. We want 8. Save it into slot A. Save it again. Into B. Toggle it so we can see. Now we're starting to get into stranger territory here. The pattern tremolo. It has 10 parameters, 8 tremolo steps, a wave shaper and a pan option. And in some ways this is more like a step sequencer, I think. So you've got 8 beats, and for each beat you select a number of tremolo events. So let's just have 1 on beat 1. And on beat 2 you can have dash dash dash, which means end of sequence, or you can have a number of beats. So I'll just put it on 1 so we can see what's going on. Actually, I'll go to the, well, turn on the auto pan just for laughs. I'll go back to wave shape. I'll take it onto something where we can hear it a bit better. So square should be a bit more obvious. I'll speed it up again. Okay, so beat 1, we've got 1. Beat 2, we had 1, now we've got 2. So we'll listen to the difference. Let's go for 4. Take the speed down so we can hear it a bit better. So it's pretty complex. We'll put it up to 90 because that's our sort of default sync speed. Let's speed it up again. That makes it a bit more obvious perhaps. So let's have 2 on beat 1, 1 on beat 2. Let's go for something a bit extreme for beat 3. And then we'll make it twice our default speed. Let's see what it does with an arpeggiator going. Yes, so very odd sort of a thing really. Let's go back to our default sound. What have we got here? We've got wave shape and beat. So that's all right. Okay, so let's say we're happy with that. MIDI clock is on. So the name 09, and we'll call this pattern, I think. Save into bank 9. A. Save. B. So there it is. Now number 10 is AutoSwell, which for a synth player really just amounts to attack time, although on some synths perhaps, I'm thinking of the DB01 for example, doesn't have any ability to fade in. So on some machines this could potentially be very useful. Parameters are rise, which is attack time, and shape. So rise, this is the attack time in seconds. So it's from 0.8 all the way up to 4 seconds. And shape is the shape of the fade in. So quadratic, exponential, quadratic, ramp, and logarithmic. And that's going to be a bit more obvious if the time is a bit more dramatic. Well, let's assign these to the knobs because there's not many to choose from. Shape onto this one. So here we've got the time. Let's give it a good going here. And then this is the shape. So, pretty basic one, but certainly everything has its place. The clock is on. Now, the one little extra here I should mention before we move on is the depth knob. It's quite interesting here because it actually adds chorus to the attack time. So it's a bit quiet, so I'll turn it up. So there it is with no chorus. Turn up the depth. So let's save that one. We're on to name. So be 10. Save. Bank 10. Save again. Slot B. There it is. 11 is Destroyer. It has 5 parameters, and it's a bit crusher, sample rate reducer, and filter. So, first parameter is bit rate. It goes all the way from 32-bit down to 4, so it will be pretty extreme. Sample rate, again, you're not going to notice much of a change until you go all the way down. So let's go down to 8 kilohertz. Goes from 32 down to 4. I don't think we're hearing much at the moment because the filter must be on something pretty vicious. Yeah, okay, there's the filter off. So let's go back to sample rate. Vinyl is what I find is incredibly annoying amount of crackle. I've got tricked by crackles more than once going, what the hell is putting that terrible sound into my music? Oh my god. So, I don't want any of that. Mix. So dry to lo-fi. This is why we weren't hearing terribly much before. Now we're getting into the beauty of it all. We can play with the filter for a bit more effect. Now there's 8 filter types here. They've just been given numbers, but if you look at the manual, this is meant to be vintage amp, old phonograph, clock radio, bullhorn, plastic megaphone, antique phone. So they're all sort of very lo-fi stuff. Cell phone and intercom. So one of the hard things here is deciding what to put onto the parameters here, I mean, it could easily be the bit rate and the sample rate, or you could go the filter and the wet-dry mix. Let's go for the bit rate, and yeah, we'll go for the mix. So, fully affected. So you see why it's called the Destroyer. You could just have a little touch. Right, let's say we like that. Clock's on. Go to the name. Going to be 11 Destroyer. Save. Bank 11. Slot A. Save again. Slot B. So there's our Destroyer, the variable bit rate, and the mix. Now, the last effect is the Quadrature. It's the weirdest and deserves a whole half hour all by itself, I think, so we're not going to do more than sort of touch upon its weirdness here. Let's see, mode, shift, wave shape, and mix. So there's only 4 parameters, but what they do is quite amazing, I think. So mode has AM, which is a ring modulator, FM, frequency shift plus and frequency shift minus. And if they don't sound too dramatic straight away, it's because there's lots of other parameters that affects that. Now we go into shift, and shift is the higher the shift, the more extreme the effect. So just a little touch there. Pretty quickly, even at halfway, we've got something pretty dramatic happening. Now, wave shape is the LFO wave shape for the shift function. We've got sine, triangle, square, saw, ramp, random, and envelope. Now, the other interesting thing, let's put it on sine. Now here also the depth amount, or the depth knob, sets the amount of modulation sent to shift. So there's shift. How much modulation is sent there. And that also then depends upon the speed. So this is the speed of the modulation on the shift function. There is the amount of modulation on the shift function. And so down here it's like a sort of slightly seasick vibrato. And we've I've just been playing with the FM mode. Going to AM. Which is the ring modulator. So you can see there's all sorts of strange weirdnesses you can get out of the Quadrature. And as I say, it deserves much greater time than we can give it here. And again, you can sync it up, do all sorts of interesting things. For now though, let's put mode onto button or knob 1 and maybe shift onto knob 2. MIDI clock is on. So the name 12 and quad. Press and hold to save. Bank 12 into A. Press and hold to save. And B. There we have our quad effect. Down from something very normal up to something quite unusual. So, lots of fun. And as I say, this is all programmed with what amounts to a very boring single oscillator sound. And if you're applying these effects to something a bit more appropriate, something that they could really chew on, then that would be that much better. So there are the 12 effect engines with our 12 presets. All up, a very impressive pedal, especially in black. Until next time, see ya.